Shame.
You're so right. So Bill Simmons has taken over Kings Twitter today. Not for saying something bad about the Kings. He just dropped a trade offer via the ESPN trade machine.
I'm sure he said something bad about the Kings somewhere, so don't
let him
off the hook.
I've listened. He has.
Yeah.
But Bill Simmons fired off this trade idea. And this trade, I need to be clear up front, doesn't work. It works in the ESPN trade machine because there are certain factors that the trade machine doesn't take into account that the Fanspo trade machine does. So our very own James Ham jumped in and got a Fanspo version of this trade to work.
Mm-hmm.
The Bill Simmons version is Anthony Simons, John Collins, and Bogdan Bogdanovic coming to the Sacramento Kings.
Yep.
Zach LaVine and Dario Saric go to the Los Angeles Clippers, and Malik Monk goes to the Boston Celtics.
Yes.
I would like you to hash out the version of this trade that works before we dive into it, because I don't want to do this conversation of whether the Kings should do this deal based on a trade that doesn't work.
Yeah. So
what's the real trade?
It's super complicated because of, aprons and all that stuff. Right. So Bill Simmons, one of the reasons why he put this trade out there is because it drops the Celtics below the luxury tax or below one of the aprons, right? And would save them money. There's really no way to completely save them all the money that this trade would kind of do.
Right.
But there's just some basic tweaks. So I've got Anthony Simons, John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and either the ghost of Bradley Beal, who's out because he broke his hip.
Man.
Or you could do, who's the other player that we were talking about?
Chris Dunn.
Chris Dunn, right? So those four to the Kings, Malik Monk, Dario Saric to the Celtics, Zach LaVine, and Doug McDermott to the Clippers. Now, the one problem about this trade is you have to wait until December 15th. Because, it's fine because Doug McDermott can't be traded until then, and Bradley Beal can't either. Chris Dunn can be traded now, but
and they can't be traded till December 15th because
they signed during the offseason with the team. So this is why we always bring up the December 15th deadline. And it's not like some magical moment where everything in the league happens. Right. But when you're looking at a complicated trade like this and you're talking about a league minimum salary that Doug McDermott's on, the only way to trade that is to wait until December 15th. And the same thing with Bradley Beal, who signed as a free agent with the Clippers this offseason. You have to wait until December 15th. And then this deal works. And the reason why this is such an intriguing deal, and it's a deal that I think Kings fans would probably get behind, is because Simons, Collins, and Bogdanovic are all on expiring contracts.
Right.
So we're looking at $27.6 million at Anthony Simons. You're looking at $26.5 million John Collins. You're looking at $16 million of Bogdan Bogdanovic. He has
a 70-ish million
gone
in expiring money.
Yeah.
While simultaneously getting out from under the Zach LaVine contract, while simultaneously not losing any draft picks.
And getting out from underneath the 3 years of Malik Monk.
Yes.
Which is not something I'm worried about, but it's clearly something the Kings have had considerations with, right?
916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Are you doing this trade? John Collins, Anthony Simons, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and we'll just say Chris Dunn to the Kings. Zach LaVine, Dario Saric to the Clippers. Celtics get Malik Monk and Doug McDermott. Are you doing that deal? I'm doing that immediately.
Oh, yeah. Hit send.
Do that yesterday.
Yeah.
You're telling me I can get off of the Zach LaVine and Malik Monk contracts in the same trade? The two contracts that we have decided, all right, if we're putting in order the contracts that the Kings can trade, Domas is at the top, then probably DeMar DeRozan, and then, God, is there any value for Zach LaVine and Malik Monk? Those are the conversations we're having. And I can get rid of them in the same trade while taking on $70 million in expiring money?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care if I lose every game the rest of the year. And I don't think they would. I think the Kings get a little better.
Sounds like they'd get better. I'm not even going to lie.
When I look at like the players. Like when I look at Simons, Collins, and Bogdanovic, like first of all, Bogey is now like 34, right? But the other two, they're young enough that you can actually make you can kind of figure out if there's someone that makes sense for you. Because when you trade for them, you do have their bird rights, and you do have options after a certain amount of time to actually extend them if you want. I'm not sure that you're going to with either one of those players, but they're around the John Collins, Anthony Simons player type is around the Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, below all-star level, but still a player that can add quality to your team. And again, I'm not sure that the Clippers would be on board with this, but I wouldn't doubt that they would at least listen, because they get a top-end talent in Zach LaVine, who's, from the area and all that stuff. And right now, with Bradley Beal going out and with the injury issues to Kawhi Leonard that always exist, it actually doesn't sound like that bad of a deal. But who knows? Again, Malik Monk and Dario Saric going to the Celtics, that would still save the Celtics a ton of money.
Yeah,
because it basically shaves like $5 or $6 million off of their tax bill.
Right, which is like a compounding number.
Yeah, exactly. And Dario Saric is on an expiring deal, so they miss out there. And if they don't have plans to extend Simons, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense to hold on to him. So I don't know. Like this, Bill Simmons throws a lot of crazy stuff up there. And again, when you're looking at trade machines, not all trade machines are created equal. The ESPN trade machine, the original trade machine, it usually just does like a really broad stroke on a trade. Right. This, if you go to Fanspo or you go to Spotrac, you can look at their trade machines, which are a lot more exact, and it talks about things like the December 15th deadline. It talks about things like, like whether you can pull off the trade because of roster compliance and all that stuff. This is a deal that not only would it work with all of those things, but the Kings would have 4 players going out and 4 players coming back.
Sure.
And so that's a big deal, because as of right now, the only non-guaranteed contract they have is, well, they have 2, I guess. You could waive Precious, or you could waive Russell Westbrook. And a trade like this, you're moving on from Doug McDermott, which has played 1 game, and you're moving off of Dario Saric. So this trade does look like the Kings are getting rid of a bunch of their bloated high-end stuff, but each of the trades makes sense for the other teams too.
Yeah, it depends on how the Clippers feel about Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Because I would guess that the same misgivings that we had about Zach LaVine when the Kings acquired him, the Clippers might have. But also, they're 4-10 now?
Yeah, and
they're 4-9, 4-10.
And Ballmer has more money than anyone could ever spend in like 400 lifetimes. So he's not so concerned about like luxury tax and stuff like that.
It's the salary cap.
Yeah, any of that stuff. But I do think when they traded Norman Powell, they're now running into this issue that they don't have that guy.
It's a lot of James Harden. Do you know James Harden's averaging like 27 a night right now?
Yeah, it's
a heavy workload for James Harden.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a reason to not do this if you're the Kings? 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320 is the Elk Grove Kia talk line. Would love to hear from you. If you have a reason the Kings shouldn't do this, I would love to know.
Yeah.
Because I can't find one. I can't poke a hole in this. At youtube.com/ESPN1320, we have the chat there. Nick V said, are the Kings rebuilding or just moving deck chairs around on the Titanic? This would be a very, very firm sign that they are rebuilding, because what this does is accelerate that timeline. We're talking a lot about 2027, because that's when, okay, Sabonis, LaVine, DeRozan are off the books. You don't have to worry about them anymore. And okay, now the money is cleared up. Doing this deal accelerates that to 2026.
Yeah.
Because now you have 70 million. Now you are going to be a team next offseason that has true cap space.
True cap space and like just flexibility moving forward.
Yes.
So I think one of the biggest things is it's really tough to map out your future when you know, like it's kind of like if you're renting versus owning. Like when you're trying to map out your future, like it just makes more sense to be locked into something long term. And this would allow the Kings to totally reset everything.
Yep.
And very quickly. And like, look, it still leaves you like the possibility that you could trade a guy like DeMar DeRozan and further advances.
Sure.
Then it becomes like, okay, can you move Domas, or is Domas part of what you're creating moving forward? And you know, again, I'm not anti sticking with a team that builds around Domas. My one concern is he's 29. And you know, you're starting to reach that point where you're like, okay, are you part of what's here? Are you part of what's next?
Sure.
Yeah. And the other thing this doesn't do, it does not replenish your stock of draft picks or anything else. But that's how you go into the off season and you have cap space and you can't sign anybody. But what you can do is take on a $20 million contract from somebody and a couple of picks.
Yeah.
And you can start building your team a different way, a way in which the Oklahoma City Thunder, you know, that's how they built their war chest, is they just kept accepting bad contracts and taking draft capital in place and then getting rid of the player eventually. Yeah, it's interesting. And it leads to like a really interesting question that I'll throw at you a little bit later.
That's a great tease. We'll also have your calls at 916-909-1320. TC, I see you on the line. We'll get to you. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320. Love this trade for the Kings. Hate this trade for the Kings. We'll talk about it next on